which make one fearless. Having obtained this rare human birth, cross over this ocean of worldly existence through the association of saintly persons. Both in the day and at night, I remain sleepless, suffering the pains of the heat and cold, the wind and the rain. For a fraction of flickering happiness, I have uselessly served wicked and miserly men. What assurance of real happiness is there in all of one's wealth, youthfulness, sons, and family members? This life is tottering like a drop of water on a lotus petal. Therefore, you should always serve and worship the divine feet of Lord Hari. It is the desire and great longing of Govinda Dasa to engage himself in the 9 processes of bhakti, namely hearing the glories of Lord Hari and chanting those glories, constantly remembering him and offering prayers to him, serving the Lord's lotus feet, serving the Supreme Lord as a servant, worshipping him with flowers and incense and so forth, serving him as a friend, and completely offering the Lord one's very self. Bhajahu re mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Bhajahu re mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Durlabha Manav Janam Satsange Tarahue Bhava Sindhure. Durlabha Manav Janam Satsange Tarahue Bhava Sindhure. Bhajahu re mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Shit Atap Bat Barishana Edin Jamini Jagire. Shit Atap Bat Barishana Edin Jamini Jagire. Bifale se vinu kripana durajana. Bifale se vinu kripana durajana. Chapala sukhalabha lagire. Chapala sukhalabha lagire. Gajahu re mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Edana Yavana Putra Parijana Ite Kiyache Paratitire. Edana Yavana Putra Parijana Ite Kiyache Paratitire. Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala Bhajahu Haripada Nitire. Bhajahu Haripada Nitire. Bhajahu re mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dasyare. Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dasyare. Pujana Sakhijana Atmanivedana. Pujana Sakhijana Atmanivedana. Govinda Das Abhi Lashare. Govinda Das Abhi Lashare. Bhajahu re mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. भजहु रे मन श्रीनंदनंदन अभय चरणर विंदरे अभय चरणर विंदरे अभय चरणर विंदरे। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. नष्टप्रायेष भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके bhaktir naistiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. जगन्नाथ बलि सुरमाई की जय, नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, पंचतत्व की जय, षड गोस्वामी की जय, गुरु परंपरा की श्री प्रभुपाद। So Hare Krishna Prabhu's Matagis, welcome all of you for this wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam session. So just share the screen. Today we'll be discussing from 4th canto, 14th chapter, verse number 16. सते मा विनशेद वीर प्रजानां क्षेम लक्षणः यस्मिन् विनष्टे नृपतेर् ऐश्वर्यात् अवरोहति। सते मा विनशेद वीर प्रजानां क्षेम लक्षणः यस्मिन् विनष्टे नृपतिर् ऐश्वर्यात् अवरोहति। सते मा विनशेद वीर प्रजानां क्षेम लक्षणः यस्मिन् विनष्टे नृपतिर् ऐश्वर्यात् अवरोहति. One Prabhu and one Mataji can recite this verse. Anybody?
Hare Krishna. May I, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes, please.
Sate ma vinashedvira prajanam kshema lakshanaha yasmin vinashte nripatir aishwaryad avarohati. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Prabhu wanted to recite.
Hare Krishna, may I?
Hare Krishna.
Sate ma vinashet veera prajanam kshema lakshanah yasmin vinashte nirupatil aishwaryat avarohati. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Synonymous word to word meaning. Saha, that spiritual life. Te, by you. Ma, do not. Vinashet, let it be spoiled. Veera, O hero. Prajanam, of the people. Kshema lakshanaha, the cause of prosperity. Yasmin, which. Vinashte, being spoiled. Nirpatihi, the king. Aishwaryat, from opulence. Avaro, Avarohati falls down. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please hear the translation and purport. The sages continued, O great hero, for this reason, you should not be the cause of spoiling the spiritual life of the general populace. General populace. If their spiritual life is spoiled because of your activities, you will certainly fall down from your opulent and royal position. Purport. Formerly, in practically all parts of the world, there were monarchies. But gradually, as monarchy declined from the ideal life of religion to the godless life of sense gratification, monarchies all over the world were abolished. However, simply abolishing monarchy and replacing it with democracy is not sufficient unless the government men are religious and follow in the footsteps of great religious personalities. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnanadvarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svabhadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Gutapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganalita Shri Vishakhavitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yonta Pravishya Mama Vacha Mimam Prasuptam Sanjeevayati Akila Shakti Dharaswadhamna Anyam Cha Hasta Charana Shravanatvagadi Prana Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Makam Karutu Acharam Pangam Ekvatam Namo Vishnu 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 Bhakti Vinod Nirusha Jai Shri Krishna Hare Rama. So Hare Krishna, Puruswata, thank you for joining and keeping today, 9th of July 2025, appointment, right? 8 o'clock appointment for everyone. So this Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Bhagavatam is so auspicious. So this chapter, 4th canto, 14th chapter is entitled The Story of King Vena. The previous chapter we saw, no, description of the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj, right? Like King Ganga, right? King Ganga, his son was Vena, who was very notorious, where King Ganga was very, very pious. In fact, in the last chapter, 4:13:49, was the last verse. In the translation, it says, when the citizens could not find any trace of the king, because King Ganga left, right? They could not find him after searching for him everywhere. So they were very disappointed. So, and they returned to the city, where all the great sages of the country, they were assembled because of the expense of king. So with tears in their eyes, the citizens offered respectful obeisances and informed the sages in full detail that they were unable to find the king anywhere. So very difficult situation for the kingdom now, right? So in the 9th verse of this chapter, 4:14:9, it says, thinking to save the state from irregularity, because the king Vena is left now. So it is a difficult situation for the state. So the sages, they began to consider that it was due to a political crisis, okay? Because of the political crisis, they made King Vena the king, although he was not qualified. But what happened? The translation, but alas, now the people were being disturbed by the king himself. So under such circumstances, how could the people be happy? That's why in the 12th verse translation. It says, the saintly sages continued thinking. Of course, we were completely aware of his mischievous nature. Yet, we nevertheless enthroned Vena. Now, the point to understand is, if we cannot persuade King Vena to accept our advice, he will be condemned by the public, and we will also join them. Thus, by our prowess, we shall burn him to ashes. And in the 13th verse, it says, the great sages, having thus decided, approached King Vena, concealing their real anger. Actually, they were angry, but what to do? They had to have somebody in the king, right? They pacified him with sweet words and then spoke. From 14th verse, they started speaking. In the 14th verse, they say, dear king, we have come to give you good advice. Kindly hear us with great attention. By doing so, your duration of life and your opulence, strength and reputation will increase. So they were telling King Vena that by just hearing our advice and acting upon it, your duration of life will increase, your opulence will increase, strength will increase, reputation will increase. So that's why in the current verse, which we are going to discuss today, 16th verse, the sages continued, and the translation says, "O great hero, for this reason, you should not be the cause of spoiling the spiritual life of the general populace." What reason? We saw in the 14th verse and 15th verse, right? That by hearing their advice, by paying attention to their advice, your duration of life, opulence, strength, and reputation will increase. For this reason, you should not be the cause of spoiling the spiritual life of the general population. And they say if their spiritual life is spoiled because of your activities as a king, you will certainly fall down from your opulent and royal position. So irresponsible government, right? Such things happen. Those days also it was there. So that is the nature of this metal world. That everything deteriorates. See, whatever good thing you may prepare, okay, in due course of time, it will deteriorate. So this is the nature of the material nature. That something is produced, which in the beginning is going on very nicely. And gradually it deteriorates, right? So the influence of time is there and then vanish, right? So even in a religious movement, okay, if there is a religious movement, if there is any material motive, then it will deteriorate, it will not stand. So the beginning of religious life should be without any material motive. Pure devotion means anya abhilashita shunyam. No material motive. See, as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, people go to the temple with a material motive. Artho artharthi. We saw in, I think, the 7th chapter, right? Bhagavad Gita. Generally, they are in need of money or they are unhappy somewhere or the other and they go to Krishna. Or according to the religious principle, they pray for the material benefit. But that is also accepted as good because they are approaching Krishna or God, right? But that is not pure devotion. If such material motive continues, then he will fall down from that devotional service. Because as soon as what happens, no, as soon as he comes to God and the mitigation, distress is mitigated, right? Then he will think that there is no more need of worshipping. Naturally, he forgets. See, we may go to Krishna in times of distress, but as soon as distress is gone, we forget Krishna. Generally, people take to devotional service when they are in materially distressed condition. See, the rich man, they do not care for all this devotional service. But if a rich man takes care that I have got this money by the grace of Krishna, so I must use it for Krishna, then he will never be unhappy. See, after all, whatever we get, no, it is by the grace of Krishna. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. Everything belongs to Krishna. So by his favor, we get opulence, riches, but we are opulent. When we are become opulent or rich, we forget Krishna. Because Maya is very strong. Then Maya will detect, no, oh, this now he is wavering. He has forgotten Krishna. So Maya will detect. He'll say, oh, you have got so much money to enjoy. Wine, women, go ahead. So we should be very much careful. You should not think that because I am, Prabhupada in one of his lectures, he is telling, don't think that because I am now initiated, I am chanting Hare Krishna, now everything is guaranteed. So now I shall do whatever I like. No, then it will deteriorate. And such a thing happened long time ago in the family of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was a very great devotee. We all know that. We have seen, right? And his family members were also great devotees. But gradually, it deteriorated. How? King Vena, because that's why in the previous chapter, the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj, right? There is this king, Vena. He was so extravagant like a demon. And this also happened due to his mother. Okay. And it's given, as Bhagavatam says, his mother was born not of a very good father. So she inherited the nature of this bad father, right? So her son also inherited the same nature of his mother. But Vena's father, King Anga, was very pious. And because of his son's behavior, he became so much disgusted. He tried everything, but nothing was possible. So he left home without any notice. That's what we saw in the beginning, right? Everybody searched for him, but they could not kill him. So the king's son, Vena, he was installed on the throne. But he behaved very badly. Citizens, were very much unhappy with him. So the great sages, they approached the king. Because the king is supposed to be directed by saintly persons. Brahmanas will say direct the Kshatriyas. So they are advising in the 14th verse. My dear king, whatever we are speaking to you, kindly hear it with attention. And if you kindly hear our advice, then you will live long, right? Duration, life, strength, everything will increase. So they say, kindly hear our instruction and your duration of life will be increased. Not only duration of life, beauty, health, right? So duration of life increase means he is healthy. And therefore, he should look bright, beautiful, strong. See, if one is actually advanced in spiritual life, or if one is actually religious, then his fame also increases. He doesn't require to advertise himself that he is pious, he is a devotee. Automatically his fame will be expanded. We see the story of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri was a great devotee in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. So when Madhavendra Puri was in Vrindavan, Gopala came in his dream and expressed himself. Madhavendra Puri, I am very much suffocated. I am covered by this dirt and jungles. Please re-excavate me from this condition and install me in the temple. So Gopala, he came in his dream and told about this. So Madhavendra Puri, with the help of villagers, he excavated the earth and found this Gopala Murti. And this Gopala Murti was installed by the help of the villagers. Very, very wonderful festivities was done. Many, many days it was done. And the deity was installed. But after some days, Madhavendra Puri was informed in the dream that Gopala was telling, since I was long within the earth, my body is very much heated. So kindly bring some sandalwood from Jagannath Puri and smear all over the body with the pulp of sandalwood. Then I shall be happy. Madhavendra Puri was a very old man at that time, right? But it is the order of Gopalji. So he started for Jagannath Puri. On the way, there is Gopinatha temple in Orissa, right? So he stayed there overnight and he saw that Gopinathji was offered Kshira, 7 pots of Kshira. So Madhavendra Puri thought within himself, if I could taste little Kshira, then I could also make such Kshira to offer my Gopala in Vrindavana. Then immediately he thought, oh, I'm so stupid that before the offering to the deity, I'm thinking of eating it. He thought himself to be very much culprit and immediately left the temple. No, I shall not. I am committing offense. It is an offense. I should not think like that. So when you bring bhoga for the deity, it should be covered so that we are greedy, right? So that we may not see it and try to taste it. That is Kanishta Adhikaris, right? They sometimes do that. Just in the beginning stage of devotion. So they take away something before being offered to the deity. These are great offenses. So Madhavananda Puri thought he was a great offender. He did not, he just thought about it, right? So he thought that he should not live in the temple. He should go outside. So he went outside and he was underneath a tree. He was there sitting and he was chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, just to pass over the night. And then proceed towards Jagannath Puri. So at the night, the deity, Gopinatha, he was asking the pujari, the priest, no? See, I have kept one pot of Kshira behind my back. Okay. Take this pot of Kshira to Madhavendra Puri. He's sitting underneath the tree and offer him. So Pujari woke up. And actually, when he opened the door of the deity room, he found that pot of Kshira. So you can understand that Madhavendra Puri is not an ordinary devotee. He's a great devotee. Otherwise, how the Lord has stolen this pot for him, right? So Gopinatha, see, Gopinatha is famous as Kshira Chora Gopinatha. Kshira Chora Gopinatha. The Gopinatha who stole the Kshira for his devotee. So he's known as thief. Kshira Chora. So he's famous as a great thief. Still, people go to say him. How nice thief he is. That is the difference between Krishna and ourselves. See, when we are thief, we are beaten by shoes. And when Krishna is thief, he's worshipped by devotees. So just like Krishna is worshipped as Ranachora, who left the war field, right? So when a man leaves the war field, he's called a coward. But Krishna, everyone knows for his pastimes, he left the war field. So Krishna is a Ranachora, left the war field, right? That is cowardice, but still Krishna is worshipped. That's why he is absolute. Krishna in any condition, he is Krishna. Either as Kshirachora, Gopinatha, or who is taunting all the gopis, or anyway, right? This is the point. So, when Krishna does it, no, he is absolute. You cannot accuse Krishna. Oh, you have done like this. So, whatever he has done, it is right. See, one Prabhupada in one of the lectures was telling, one boy was criticizing Krishna. Why Krishna makes this distinction? Stri, Shudra, Vaishya as Papa Yoni. This is godlessness when we dare to criticize Krishna. Prabhupada says we should not criticize Krishna. But the point to understand, he said, is those who are unaware of Krishna's position, we have to inform them in a right way. What is the right thing? So actually Krishna says that even in this Sri, Shudra, Vaishya, they are also elevated to the highest position if they take the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. So the Papa Yoni, the pious man, impious man, that is the consideration of the material world. So as long as we are in the material world, there must be this is good and this is bad. Actually, there is nothing good in this material world. Everything is bad. But we have concocted some formulas, that this is good and this is bad. That's why in Chaitanya Charitamrita Lila 4.176, it says, in the material world, Bhadra, Abhadra. Anything Bhadra and Abhadra, good and bad, they are simply mental concoction. There cannot be anything good. So Prabhupada gives an example. Just like a man suffering from some disease is lying on the bed, right? A friend goes and asks him, my dear friend, how are you feeling today? So he can say, yes, I am feeling today all right. What is that all right? He's lying on the bed and he's taking medicines. So many discomforts are there. And still he says, I am all right. So in the material world, this prosperity, right? So-called prosperity is not prosperity. Because this life, next life, we do not know what is going to happen. Janma Murtyu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. 13.9 Bhagavad Gita says. So a learned man, he sees always that my happiness, what is the value of this happiness? I will have to die. I will have to accept old age. I will have to suffer from disease. And as soon as I die, again I will have to enter into the womb of a particular mother to take birth again. So where is happiness? In the womb of the mother to live for 10 months in a very awkward position, that is not very happy situation. See, so the point what we are discussing is this Madhavendra Puri, when he got the pot of Kshira, the priest, he praised him. Oh, you're such a great devotee. Krishna has stolen for you this earthen, this pot, right? Like Kshira. So take it. And the priest bowed down before him, took the dust of his lotus feet. Then Madhavendra Puri thought, now I have got this pot of Kshira, and next morning it will be advertised. People will come to know, and they will come in long queues and try to congratulate me. So better leave this place immediately. That means Mahadevendra Puri did not want to be advertised as a great devotee. He left. But immediately as he reached Jagannath Puri, the news was already there. And every man came to congratulate him. Oh, Madhavendra Puri, you are so great devotee. Krishna has stolen this condensed milk, Kshira. We have heard it. So the point is that a devotee, even if he does not want to get advertised, Krishna advertises him. Krishna advertises him without his intention. Because Krishna wants to see that his devotee is very much advertised as devotee, glorified. The point to understand is if one is religious, if one is a devotee, his reputation also increases. His strength of body also increases. His beauty also increases. His duration of life also increases. This is the purport we just saw, right? That the saintly persons are telling to King Mena. So they are telling, my dear king, if you kindly follow our instruction, then these things will increase your duration of life, body of strength, your strength, reputation, right? So what is that instruction? In the 15th verse, they say, he said that every man should execute his particular duty of life. That is called dharma. See, we manufacture our duty. But according to Shastras, Krishna says, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhakashah, 4.13 Bhagavad Gita. Duty means, according to this Chaturvarnyam, 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. That is called dharma, sadharma, right? Brahmana must execute his Brahminical duties. Kshatriya must execute his Kshatriya duties. Vaishya, a Shudra, then Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, this is all called dharma. This is material dharma. This is not spiritual dharma. See, material dharma means so long we are under the concept of this body, there are certain duties to be performed. That is called material dharma. See, just like we eat, right? This is also one of the duty. Because if I don't eat, then I shall die. But what kind of food I shall eat? That is described in the Shastras. Satvika, Rajasika, Tamasika, right? Tamasika, Bhojana. So, if we follow the instruction of the Shastras, then it is we are on the right path. So, they are called Dharma Shastra, regulative principles. So, everything is, see, the point is, everything is becoming against religious principles nowadays. That is the reason the world is unhappy. Therefore, the sages are advising the king. If you execute the prescribed duties as they are mentioned in the Dharma Shastras, then gradually you are elevated to the planet where there is no anxiety. ISKCON, topmost planet, where there is no anxiety. And that is in the spiritual world. That's why they're called Vaikuntha. Kunta means always in anxiety. And Vaikuntha means without any anxiety. So if you are transferred to that spiritual world, you'll be very happy. That's eternal. So many, see, we got planets in the middle world, right? But beyond the sky, there is another sky, spiritual sky. That information is given in Bhagavad Gita. Parastasmatu bhavaha anya vyakto avyaktat sanatanaha. 8.20 Bhagavad Gita says. So there is another sky, which is eternal. It is beyond this manifested and non-manifested mental cosmic world. So in that world, nothing is vanquished. Everything is permanent, eternal. So the living entity is eternal. Krishna is also eternal. His abode, Golok Vrindavan, is also eternal. And this Vrindavana here is a replica of that Vrindavana in the spiritual sky. So when Krishna comes on this planet, he comes here in the Vrindavana land. So it is transcendental. So as much as Krishna is worshipable, this Vrindavana is also worshipable. So Vrindavana is Vishokan. There is no anxiety. If anyone comes, Prabhupada says, if anyone comes to Vrindavana and chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he will have no disturbance. See, thousands and thousands of people are here. They do not like to go away from Vrindavan because it is so pleasing and no anxiety. But if you have any ulterior motive, then that is different. Then Maya will catch you. Even in Vrindavan, it will catch you. So bhakti should be without any material intentions. Anya abhilashita shunyam. Jnana karmadi anavatam. Anukulyena krishnanu. Sheelanam bhaktir uttama. Bhakti Ratamritsindhu, right? It says, first class devotion without any motive. That's why the sages are saying, if you execute the prescribed duties of the mankind, then ultimately you will be elevated to the planet where there is no anxiety. You will be liberated. Provided you keep yourself without any contamination of this material world. And that can be done. Very nicely given by Rupa Goswami. Again, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says, if you want to be aloof from the contamination of the material world, then everything, whatever we use, whatever we need, it must be in relation with Krishna. Then we can keep ourselves aloof from the contamination. That is a liberated condition. That means you are eternal servant of Krishna. If you always be engaged in the service of Krishna, then you are above this material world, uncontaminated. But if you have got any material intentions, then again you are under the clutches of Maya. So we should always remember this. So in the current verse which we are discussing, 4:14-16, in the purport, Prabhupada says, formerly in practically all parts of the world, there were monarchies. But gradually as monarchy declined from the ideal life of religion to godless life of sense gratification, monarchies all over the world were abolished. So however, simply abolishing monarchy and replacing it with democracy is not sufficient. Unless the government men are religious and follow in the footsteps of great religious personalities. This is very much required. See, when Kshamika Rishi heard that his son Shringi had immaturely used his Brahminical powers and cursed Maharaj Parikshit for throwing a dead snake on his neck, Kshamika Rishi was upset and he advised his son that he has committed a great sinful action by cursing the king for an insignificant offense. And he also explained to him that the dangers of abolishing monarchical regime and the condition of people and nation in the absence of kings who are devotees of the Krishna. That's why in Bhagavatam 1:18-45, Shamika Rishi says, at that time, the people in general will fall systematically from the path of a progressive civilization in respect to the qualitative engagements of the castes and the orders of society and the Vedic injunctions. Thus, they will be more attracted to economic development for sense gratification. And as a result, there will be an unwanted population on the level of dogs and monkeys. So, Shamika Rishi is telling. You can foresee when there is no leader, right? Divine leader, like someone who's following the path of Krishna consciousness. Yatha Raja, Tata Praja. See, nowadays, most of the countries are not having monarchical regime, right? Nor are there kings who serve the country, considering them as representatives of God. So we can practically see how the words of Shamika Rishi has come true. In the absence of king, who is actually the representative of Krishna, the condition of people will be bad as they have no one to guide them in dharma, artha, kama and moksha. So the words artha, kama, bhimaneshita in this verse 1:18-45, right? It says, means those who are after economic development and sense gratification. The present rulers, in so-called democracy, they are after only looting money from the public and engage in sense gratification activities. So the public will also follow the same way. Yatha Raja, Yatha Tatha Praja. So if the king is strict about religious principles, citizens will also follow the same path. Whereas, if the rulers allow opening of wine shops everywhere. They themselves drink. And even while asking for votes, they come in a drunken state. Then citizens also will pick up the same and bad habits. That's why in purport of Bhagavatam 1:12:34, Prabhupada very nicely mentions how in the ancient times, saintly kings ruled the planet, right? He gives the example of Maharaja Marutta, who was gifted a mountain peak of gold in Himalayas. He was given a mountain, gold. So Maharaj Marut, he conducted many opulent sacrifices and gave away so much gold and gifts to the Brahmanas that they were leaving behind excessive gold plates and other gifts after the sacrifice. They did the sacrifice, but all the gold plates, they were just left behind and went. The gold plates were lying around the sacrificial arena. But neither the Maruts, nor the Brahmanas, nor the citizens, nor the Pandavas, they grabbed unclaimed gold. It was still lying there. Only when Lord Krishna advised them to go and collect the unclaimed gold for use in Rajasuya Yajna sacrifice, the Pandavas went and took them. It was still lying there. So this shows how neither the kings were greedy nor the citizens were greedy. They were all self-sufficient and satisfied with what they had. See, even now in Orissa and Thiruvananthapuram now, right? Kings also are deprived of powers of administrating the state. They continue to inspire people in their cities to do seva for the Lord by showing by their personal example. See, in Sri Ananta Padmanabha Swami temple, even today, the practice is followed that if the king is delayed in coming to take darshan of the Lord in the temple, he has to pay a fine of rupees 11. This shows the purity of the Vedic system. In Puri also, we heard from one Panda that they consider the king as Jagannath's first servant. Yeah, and he also said that how few years ago, during the Rath Yatra, Lord Jagannath's car did not move. See, Jagannath is Lord of the universe and he moves by his own will. But not knowing the potency of Jagannath, the chief minister of the state, he casually said that they can just use cranes and bulldozers and move the cart. Hundreds of people tried to move the cart, but Jagannath did not move an inch for 2 days. Then the king of Orissa, he walked barefoot towards Lord Jagannath, paid obeisances, and with devotion cried to Lord Jagannath to forgive any offense committed and requested Lord Jagannath to move. After that, moved by the king's devotion, the Lord's cart easily moved just with the help of 4 or 5 people. So this is, Yata Raja Yata Praja, Tata Praja, no, that is, so we should be very careful. If they are good, people will follow. So there is a need for proper engagement. That means engagement is systematically vanquished nowadays. Kali made a systematic plan to vanquish this progress towards dharma. How? By destroying the Brahmana caste. By making Shringi proud of his position. And through the Brahmana's curse, the saintly kings also, when Parikshit Maharaj had to leave the planet. So this way, the society in Kali Yuga is systematically vanquished. My Guru Maharaj used to say, constant flow of Lakshmi keeps us in good mode of goodness. So it is important for the higher class of people like Brahmanas and Kshatriyas to guide the lower class people in attaining this position and keep them in the mode of goodness to the best possible. See, when there is no king to properly engage the subjects, correct, in the dharma, then people they will be idle. They will be just whiling away their time in artha and kama. Idle mind is a devil's workshop. So that's why the purport of Bhagavatam 2:136, Prabhupada says, disruption in the matter of discharging the specific duty assigned to each and every living being is the cause of disharmony between one living being and another. But when the relation is re-established in relation with the Supreme Lord, there is complete unity between all living beings. even up to the limit of the wild animals and human society. So you have to connect with Krishna. Arya means progressive civilization. So the king should facilitate for his subjects to progressively improve on the path of self-realization. That is back home, back to Godhead. But since that kind of relation is not being developed, there is disharmony and disunity. So also in monarchy, strict punishment is given for people who do crimes. But now in the name of democracy, punishments are not so strict, but are mild. So this is provoking more and more people to engage in crimes. People are behaving like dogs and monkeys, like Prabhupada says. As a result, there is Varna Shankara. And as such, children are also becoming victims to more and more bad things in this world due to lack of proper care for them. So if the subjects are not properly engaged in prescribed occupational duties in the mood of devotion by the rulers, they will remain engaged in this middle world, not engaged, engaged in this middle world. So there is a need for Krishna conscious rulers or rulers who take advice from devotees, who care for the material and spiritual welfare of all the people around. However, this will take its own time to materialize. Prabhupada says, and until then, we need to follow the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Scrutinizingly study Srila Prabhupada's books, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, serving the instructions of our Guru strictly, and guiding the interested personalities in the current administrative positions to ensure the progress towards this ultimate goal of Vedic civilization. See, my Guru Maharaj says that all of us require guidance in our lives. Correct? So the guidance from good and great souls, what happens? It will help us achieve perfection and success in our lives. See, we see in Srimad Ramayana, Sita Devi is very much emphasizing on this guidance by speaking to Ravana in Sundarakanda. I think 21.9 and 10. She says to Ravana, it must be that either there are no saintly people here to guide you, or that you do not follow them. For your mind is perverse and devoid of etiquette. Or you do not listen to the wholesome advice tended by the wise. Your mind being set on the unreal, bent as you are on the destruction of the Rakshasas. See, as important as getting the good counsel of great saintly persons, right? It is the duty of any leader or anyone in the position of leadership to give an opportunity to the subordinates and associates to express their opinions and thus make them inclusive in the decisions instead of imposing decisions on them. See, in our lives, everyone plays the role of a leader to some living entity, right? Or a group of living entities. The father is a leader of the house. Similarly, there are teachers, mothers, employers, community, national, international leaders, right? So in all these roles, our relationship with the other living entities becomes successful, happy, and loving when we are ready to respect the opinions of the subordinates, associates, or members. This develops a sense of belonging to the members, right? And this helps very much in the successful execution of any mission. On the other hand, if the king or the leader behaves like a dictator, it creates bitter feelings and fails to get the required cooperation from all the people. So in Bhagavatam, we find that Angira Muni comes to the kingdom of Chitraketu and gives the formula for happiness. 6, 14, 18. O king, O Lord of humanity, when a king directly depends upon his associates and follows their instructions, he is happy. Similarly, when his associates offer their gifts and activities to the king and follows his orders, they are also happy. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, the actual happiness of the king and his dependents is described in this verse. A king should not simply give orders to his dependents because he is the supreme, right? Sometimes he must follow their instructions. Similarly, the dependents should depend on the king. So this mutual dependence will make everyone happy. So we see the prevalence of the real democratic principles, even though there was monarchy, right? So such monarchy is very much appreciated and welcomed. See, we see an instance in Bhagavatam 10:70:46, where even Lord Krishna seeks advice from Uddhava. Before the great sage Narada arrived in the Sudharma assembly house of Dwaraka, Krishna and his ministers and secretaries, no, they had been considering how to attack the kingdom of Jarasandha. So because they were seriously considering this subject, Narada's proposal that Lord Krishna go to Hastinapura for Maharaj Yudhishthira's great Rajasuya sacrifice, they did not appeal to them. So Lord Krishna could understand the intentions of his associates because he is a ruler of even Lord Brahma. So in order to pacify them, Krishna smilingly spoke to Uddhava in Bhagavatam 10:70:46. He says to Uddhava, "You are indeed our best eye and closest friend, for you know perfectly the relative value of various kinds of counsel. Therefore, please tell us what should be done in this situation. We trust your judgment and shall do as you say." Who is telling? Krishna is asked to Uddhava. See, in Bhagavatam 2:7:22, glorification of Lord Parashuram, who is a great Kshatriya, right? This 2:7:22 explains the purpose of his glorious incarnation. It says, when the ruling administrators, who are known as the Kshatriyas, when they turned astray from the path of absolute truth, being desirous to suffer in hell, the Lord in his incarnation as sage Parashurama uprooted those unwanted kings who appeared as the thorns on the earth. Thus he thrice, 7 times uprooted the Kshatriyas with his keenly sharpened chopper. Prabhupada writes in the purport, every state and its administrators, regardless of the nature of the administration, monarchy or democracy, oligarchy or dictatorship or autocracy, have the prime responsibility to lead the citizens towards God realization. This is essential for all human beings. And it is the duty of the father, spiritual master, and ultimately the state to take up the responsibility of leading the citizens towards this end. The whole creation of material existence is made for this purpose, just to give a chance to the fallen souls who rebelled against the will of the Supreme Father and thus become conditioned by material nature. The force of material nature gradually leads one to a hellish condition of perpetual pains and miseries. Those going against the prescribed rules and regulations of conditioned life are called Brahmojita Pathas, or persons going against the path of absolute truth. And they are liable to be punished. So Lord Parashurama, the incarnation of personality of Godhead, appeared in such a state of worldly affairs and killed all the miscreant kings 21 times. That is the order of the Almighty. So we can see 2 important points. 1, turning astray from the path of absolute truth. In Satyuga, during the incarnation of Parashurama, the Varnashrama system was well in place. And only the Kshatriyas were degraded. And all the other 3 Varnas were followed nicely. And people in those Varnas were clear about the aim of life. So Parashurama destroyed only those degraded kings to save the rest of the population. But in Kali Yuga, the entire Varnashram system has collapsed. Almost all the people have totally lost the aim of life. Even aspiring devotees like us are not exemption to this rule, right? See, we have been gifted with the seed of devotional service by the causeless mercy of Krishna and spiritual master. And we have been hearing so much about the glory of bhakti for so many years. We are also experiencing the ghastly nature of this material world, especially Kali Yuga. In spite of this, we many times tend to freak out, right? And try to stray away from devotional service due to the anarthas in our heart. And we also take devotional service very cheaply at times. So we are all Brahmojita Pathas at times as we stray away from the path of absolute truth. But Lord Parashurama does not destroy us, just like he did the Kshatriyas, but he tries to bring us back to the path of absolute Brahma Patha, by speaking through the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, through the spiritual master and devotees. The Lord destroys our anarthas through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastras as a keenly sharpened chopper. So when we get rid of these anarthas, the tendency to stray from the absolute truth is removed, and we can stay fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna and Lord Parshurama. The second point was suffering hellish condition of perpetual pains and miseries. See, when we turn away from the path of absolute truth, the result is perpetual misery and pain, because we continue the cycle of birth and death. So during the incarnation of Parshurama, the kings were unrighteous, and Brahmanas and saintly people were suffering at the hands of those kings. The kings were also destined for hellish suffering in the future because of their sinful actions. So by destroying those kings, the Lord saved the saintly people from suffering, and the kings were also saved from future hellish conditions because they were purified by the touch of Parshurama, killed by him. Otherwise, they would have suffered severe hellish punishment for their sinful action. So the Lord displayed great compassion both to the Kshatriyas and the rest of the population by removing their sufferings. So it is imperative to offer prayers to the Lord in his incarnation as Lord Parashurama to destroy our anarthas and protect us from hellish conditions. So there is a shloka from Varaha Purana, gives a beautiful prayer in this regard. It says, Lord Parashurama is the protector of the entire cosmos. He is called Hiranyagarbha, the creator of the cosmos, and he is the destroyer of all evil forces. May that son of Jamadagni protect us from all evil tendencies. So let us pray to our Guru, Prabhupada and Krishna for their blessings, so that we can remember this great incarnation of Lord. So these different types of governments or leadership systems, all of which are meant to maintain, organize and oversee others, right? They are different. So each of these systems make significant impact on how people working under them interact, grow and achieve purpose in their lives. So when the leadership has no higher understanding, people in general become bewildered. Masses of people are basically subordinate by nature. We understand from Vedic scriptures that the healthiest system of government is divine monarchy. See, a monarchy is the most easily abused system of all. And when wrongly applied, it can become a source of social devastation. So when those with a democratic mentality rule, they create great disturbances by misusing their power. We can see nowadays, right? That's why Prabhupada in one of his lectures, he says, monarchy or dictatorship is welcome. Now the communists want dictatorship. Prabhupada says that is welcome, provided the dictator is trained like Maharaj Yudhishthira. Not that simply by the votes of rascal population one becomes a dictator. Then another rascal comes, another big rascal comes. The communist dictator Stalin is said to have been the greatest criminal in the history of the world. He would not tolerate anything going against him. As soon as he found that someone was against him, he would call that person before him and say, take poison or I shall kill you. That was his policy. In that way, he killed so many enemies. Not only the Tsar family, his business was killing. So that kind of dictatorship is not wanted. Prabhupada mentions a dictator is wanted by whose direction the citizen will be so happy that they will not have any anxiety. See, when anyone raises the voice against the kind of cruel dictatorship, the government tortures them and exiles them from the state and perpetuates a lie that all this torture and force is necessary for the benefit of the state. All lies, propaganda. All are made to believe in this lie and participate in the lie. See, I have been thinking how dissent or raising a voice against this form of dictatorship has its role in emancipating the suffering public, right? That's why Vidura Maharaj was the son of maidservant in the palace of Dhritarashtra. But he was so much insulted and so many things. But he was still trying to get Dhritarashtra, giving good advice, right? But he was not understanding. That's why in Bhagavatam 3:1, to 13, Vidura said, you must now return the legitimate share of Yudhishthira. He has no enemies. He has been forbearing through unfold sufferings due to your offenses. He is waiting with his younger brothers, among whom is the revengeful Bhima, breathing heavily like a snake. Surely you are afraid of him. Lord Krishna has accepted the sons of Pritha as his kinsmen. All the kings of the world are with Lord Krishna. He is present in his home with all his family members, kings and princes of the Vidu dynasty. So you are maintaining offense personified Duryodhana as your infallible son. He is envious of Lord Krishna. And because you are maintaining a non-devotee of Krishna, you are devoid of all auspicious qualities. Relieve yourself of this ill fortune as soon as possible and do good to the whole family and through the whole kingdom, right? So this is how, so the saintly people, they are trying to advise King Vena so that he will be, but it was of no avail. So very nice lessons we could learn from this episode of King Vena. And how one should rule, who should be a leader, right? What should he follow? All these very nice lessons were learned from previous lessons today. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much, Prabhu Mataji. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Shri Prabhupada. Vancha kalpatarubhesha kripa sandubhaya vacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Anantakoti Vaishnavanda ki jai. Hare Krishna, if you have any questions or anything to share and takeaways, you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Such a beautiful story of it, and how the monarchy is responsible for his fellow subordinates for their Krishna awakening the Krishna consciousness. Like that is the perfect way to lead. I have generally noticed that we ask some questions. Usually, people are not ready to share. Not even a single recipe they are ready to share. Leave alone leading to Krishna consciousness. Like such a nice, everybody should follow that, not only authority. Somewhere everyone has authority, so it is everybody's responsibility.
Absolutely. Very nice point. Thank you, Mataji. Very good.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, charity begins at home, right? From each person it starts, right? Very nice.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, if we have a good leader, it's not only the human beings are living, it takes the happiness extends to even the animals and the other lower entities. So that is such a great thing that we have to strive and work hard towards it, Prabhuji. We have to have these religious practices going up to our rulers.
Correct.
Very, very nice,
Very
Prabhuji.
good.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
I know
much.
Prabhupada is telling, no, it has to be done. It will take some time. But in the meantime, what we have to, our responsibilities, go and continue with our chanting, Rama Sankirtan, book distribution, all this. So slowly but steadily, people will come. It has increased so much, right? That's definitely.
Yes,
Thank you.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So
Prabhuji, yesterday I read a book, The Practice of Immorality by Ishan Shivanand-ji. And he was discussing that like he was reared in an ashram, and there were loads of monks over there giving discourses. He was more inspired by nature and animal. Like whenever he used to, as a child, he used to see any animal injured in the jungle, he used to heal him, cure him. So he learned loads of it. As Mataji said just now, we should extend our love and compassion to everyone, and we have so much to learn from each and every being,
True.
whether human or animal.
Absolutely. Correct. Compassion. No, that's what. Very nice.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay, I think we are beyond time. So thank you very much for Mataji's. Hare Krishna. Ganadra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. I'll close now. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.